Person who came into our country illegally, therefore breaking the law.
Since Donald Trump became president again, people suspected of being in America illegally are being rounded up and detained. Previous presidents did the same. The difference now is the methods.
25 million people came in illegally, and no system can take care of the health care of all of those people that came.
Immigration has become a centerpiece of the Trump administration. The change in policy is dramatic when you look at the numbers. Under former President Joe Biden, ICE made 49,000 arrests from January to June 2024. During the same period in 2025, now under President Trump, arrests increased by 122%. Supporters say this is a necessary step to remove dangerous offenders and restore control. Opponents argue the actions are inhumane and tear families apart. Over 60,000 migrants are currently in detention, and the White House has set a new goal of 3,000 arrests per day. ICE's budget has reached an incredible $170 billion, and there are plans to double the force to 20,000 agents. This raises a serious question for every American. When someone crosses the border illegally, should they be deported immediately because they have already broken the law? Or should deportation only happen after they commit another crime inside the country? Many people are unhappy with this new reality, leading to widespread protests. For some, these actions are the price of protecting national security. In this video, we will cover the top 5 harshest ICE raids of 2025. Before we start, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And now, let's dive in. Number 5, the nationwide blitz. The Trump administration began its term with a decisive shift in immigration policy. On January 23, 2025, it launched a massive, coordinated enforcement blitz across America's largest cities, including New York and Chicago. This was not a routine action, but a powerful strategic choice. The selection of these cities was deliberate, as many were known for their sanctuary policies, making the blitz a direct challenge to local authority. The raids were designed for high visibility, sending a clear message that the administration would use large-scale force to execute its tough stance on immigration. The era of low-profile enforcement was officially over. The White House defended this strategy as a targeted strike on national security threats. Officials reported that 538 immigrants were arrested in the initial sweep. The administration specified targets included members of transnational gangs like MS-13 and individuals with prior convictions for serious felonies. Officials argued that previous, more discreet enforcement methods had proven ineffective against such threats. For those arrested, the process involved detention and subsequent deportation, primarily to Mexico and Central American countries. From the government's perspective, the operation was a direct and effective method for upholding federal law. However, the chosen method of broad pre-dawn raids drew immediate criticism and sparked a powerful public response. Spontaneous protests erupted in the targeted cities. Thousands took to the streets, clashing with law enforcement in a raw display of public anger. The central point of contention was that while the official narrative focused on criminals, a significant number of those arrested had no criminal history. This created a debate about the precision of the strategy and its wider impact on community trust. The backlash from city leaders focused specifically on these tactics. Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson accused the administration of using fear as a tool and reinforced his city's ordinance limiting police cooperation with ICE. New York's response was more divided. Mayor Eric Adams stated the city would cooperate with ICE to apprehend violent criminals, creating a complex situation. This political standoff highlighted the deep legal and ideological divide in the country over the role of local police in federal immigration matters. A sovereign nation has the right to enforce its immigration laws. The debate sparked by this blitz was about the methods. Is a strategy of high-profile raids an effective way to ensure national security? Or does the fierce public protest and political backlash make this approach counterproductive? Share your analysis in the comments. Our team needs your help. Subscribe to our channel to help more people learn the truth about current events. And now, we move on. Number 4. Los Angeles Siege. By June 2025, the tension between federal policy and local resistance exploded in Los Angeles. The county became the epicenter of a relentless wave of ICE raids targeting homes and workplaces. The scale of the operation was staggering. In just over 2 weeks, from June 6th to June 22nd, ICE agents arrested over 2,700 immigrants across the region. This massive number of arrests sparked an immediate and furious backlash, leading to sustained protests that brought the city to a standstill. The situation escalated as thousands of enraged citizens flooded the streets. The White House declared the protests a threat to national security. In a move that shocked the nation, the administration deployed 4,000 federalized National Guard soldiers and 700 U.S. Marines to the city. The official justification was to restore order and protect federal agents. The administration claimed the military was a direct response to riots, citing that over 575 protesters had been arrested for charges ranging from failure to disperse to assault. For many residents of Los Angeles, the deployment of federal agents and military vehicles across the city was an unsettling sight. Armored transports rolled through residential streets, and heavily armed officers established checkpoints in multiple neighborhoods. Officials defended the scale of the operation by emphasizing public safety, noting that among the 2,700 people arrested were individuals with prior convictions for crimes such as assault, child molestation, and vehicular manslaughter. Authorities framed the crackdown as a necessary step to remove dangerous offenders and restore confidence in border enforcement, even as tensions in local communities continued to rise. This move ignited a constitutional firestorm. California Governor Gavin Newsom fiercely condemned the deployment, calling it a reckless and unconstitutional invasion. He accused the president of using the military to intimidate American citizens and had refused to deploy the state's own guard for these purposes. Mayor Karen Bass echoed the governor's outrage, stating the federal government had brought a state of chaos and fear to her city. The standoff between state and federal power was no longer just a legal debate. It was a visible conflict on the streets of a major American city. The White House presented data on violent offenders to justify the military presence. Meanwhile, the governor of California condemned it as an invasion meant to silence public outrage. For many watching across the country, the scene looked like a test of how far the government is willing to go in enforcing immigration laws. Now, here is a question for you. When someone crosses the border illegally, should they be deported immediately because they have already broken the law? Or should deportation only happen after they commit another crime inside the country? Share your opinion in the comments below and let us know what you think. Now, please take a moment to hit that like button. It's a small action, but it helps YouTube's algorithm promote our videos to a wider audience. Number 3, Chicago's military showdown. The immigration conflict took a new politically charged turn in September 2025. The focus shifted to Chicago, a city whose leadership was openly hostile to the administration's agenda. In response, the White House initiated Operation Midway Blitz, a prolonged and intense enforcement action lasting through October. It was less of a raid and more of a sustained pressure campaign. The operation was notable for its use of advanced military-style hardware, including armored vehicles and surveillance drones, which became a common sight in some neighborhoods. This was a clear demonstration of federal power in a defiant city. The official objective, according to the Department of Homeland Security, was to locate and deport criminal aliens who posed a threat to public safety. Over the course of the operation, ICE arrested approximately 1,150 immigrants in the Chicago metropolitan area. To support their claims, DHS released statistics showing that of those arrested, around 30%, or approximately 350 people, had prior criminal convictions. The charges ranged from DUIs and drug possession to more serious offenses like aggravated assault and weapons charges. For the administration, these numbers were proof that the operation was a success. However, this data also meant that over 70% of those arrested, roughly 800 people, had no criminal record. This fact became the central point of criticism. Community leaders and activists argued that the operation was using the hunt for a few hundred criminals as a pretext to terrorize thousands of ordinary people. They pointed to raids on factories and restaurants where the vast majority of those detained were simply workers without proper documents. This created a powerful narrative that the operation was less about public safety and more about fulfilling arrest quotas. The conflict was intensified by the fiery political rhetoric between the state and federal governments. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker publicly condemned the operation as a politically motivated stunt and accused the president of using federal agents to intimidate his political opponents. He activated state legal aid resources to help those who were detained. In response, the government provided data showing that hundreds of convicted criminals were arrested. Critics pointed out that even more non-criminals were swept up in the process. This raises a critical question about law enforcement. Is it acceptable to cast a wide net that catches hundreds of non-violent individuals in order to capture a smaller number of criminals? Where do you draw the line between targeted enforcement and an indiscriminate sweep? We are interested in hearing your thoughts in the comments. Share this video on X and Facebook to help us grow. Every share counts. Number 2, the rotting harvest. In the blistering heat of June 2025, the administration's focus shifted from urban centers to the agricultural heartlands of America, particularly California's Central Valley. For decades, the agricultural sector has operated on a complex and unspoken arrangement. Farmers facing thin profit margins and a lack of domestic workers willing to do strenuous field work have heavily relied on undocumented labor. These workers are often highly skilled and efficient, forming the backbone of the nation's food supply. Without their labor, experts warned that prices for fruits and vegetables could skyrocket for American consumers. This delicate balance was shattered by a series of large-scale, coordinated ICE raids. The operation was framed by the government as a crackdown on illegal employment and exploitation. Federal officials stated that the raids targeted agricultural businesses that knowingly hired undocumented workers, depressing wages and violating federal law. Over the course of a 2-week period, ICE arrested more than 1,200 farm workers across California and Arizona. In a significant escalation, federal charges were also brought against more than 40 farm owners and managers for harboring illegal labor. For the administration, this was a clear message that not only the workers, but also their employers, would be held accountable for breaking immigration laws. The immediate consequence of the raids was economic chaos. With over 1,000 skilled workers removed from the fields literally overnight, panic spread among farm owners. News channels broadcast powerful images of unpicked crops rotting in the sun. The Western Growers Association, an organization representing farmers, reported that the initial economic loss from abandoned harvests exceeded $250 million. Strawberries, lettuce, and other perishable crops were hit the hardest. Many smaller family-owned farms that had just invested heavily in planting and irrigation were pushed to the brink of bankruptcy. Unable to find a legal workforce in time to save their harvest, the human cost was equally devastating. The raids often happened in the early morning as workers were arriving in the fields. Children of the arrested workers, many of whom are U.S. citizens, were left stranded at schools or with neighbors, unsure if they would see their parents again. The crackdown also created an immediate labor crisis. Farmers who tried to hire legally found themselves in an impossible situation. Farmers and agricultural groups called it a self-inflicted wound on the nation's food supply. This situation highlights a fundamental dilemma. Should the government strictly enforce immigration laws in critical sectors like agriculture, or should there be a more practical approach that recognizes the economic realities? Let us know what you think is the right path forward in the comments. Number 1, the factory crackdown. The final major operation of 2025 shifted the focus from urban centers and farms to the heart of America's industrial sector. In October, federal agents conducted a massive raid on a major automotive parts supplier for Hyundai in Alabama. This was not just an immigration raid, it was the culmination of a months-long federal investigation into human trafficking and the exploitation of child labor. The operation sent shockwaves through corporate America, demonstrating that the administration's crackdown would now target not just the workers, but the powerful corporations that hire them. The raid was a stunning display of federal force. ICE agents, alongside FBI and Department of Labor officials, arrested over 250 undocumented workers. In a move that signaled a major policy shift, 7 plant managers and 2 corporate executives were also arrested and faced federal charges. The government's case was built on evidence that the company was knowingly employing undocumented adults and, more shockingly, dozens of minors, some as young as 14. The White House presented the raid as a huge victory, not just for immigration enforcement, but for protecting vulnerable children from exploitation by a major international corporation. For Hyundai, this was a public relations nightmare. The company immediately tried to distance itself from the supplier, but the damage was done. The raid exposed the dark side of complex supply chains, where the demand for cheap parts can lead to horrific abuses. For immigrant rights advocates, the situation was deeply complex. While they condemned the exploitation, they also criticized ICE for arresting the adult undocumented workers. They argued that these workers were victims of corporate greed and potential witnesses in a major trafficking case, yet they were being treated as criminals and processed for deportation. The economic fallout for the region was immediate. The supplier plant, a major local employer, was forced to halt production, disrupting Hyundai's assembly line and threatening the jobs of thousands of American workers. This created a tense debate. On one side, the administration was praised for cracking down on a company engaged in illegal and immoral practices. On the other side, critics argued that the heavy-handed raid punished the entire community and deported the very victims of the crimes the government claimed to be investigating. The operation blurred the lines between victim and criminal and between justice and enforcement. This raid raises a tough question about corporate accountability. When a company breaks the law by hiring undocumented workers, should the workers be arrested as criminals or protected as witnesses? And what is the government's primary duty? Enforcing immigration law or protecting human beings from exploitation? Let us know your final thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of global events. Don't forget to like this video if you found it informative. Click on the video you see on the screen to learn more.